turn to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25, and I will read our section. I said I wouldn't preach the same passage, but I'm going to do this Sunday because this is like the keynote passage for Multiply. For me, this is the passage, my favorite passage that I get to preach because God has done so much in my life through this passage. So I read it, Matthew chapter 25, starting with verse 14. I'm sorry, I must have said it wrong, 25. Matthew 25, starting with verse 14. Is that good? Okay. I heard somebody say something did I get it wrong? Okay. I'm going to keep reading, okay? Don't mind me. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. When he went away, he who received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he had the one who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But the one who received 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also who had 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also who had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. But the master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sowed and gather what I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received what was mine with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, Jesus is explaining to his disciples what the kingdom of heaven is like, or the rule of Christ. And at times, the rule of Christ or the kingdom of heaven means purely the redeemed, those who have been saved through Jesus Christ. But in other times it means the visible gathering of believers, which can include unbelievers. And this is the case with this one right here. And either side of this parable, there are parables on either side. The 10 virgins and the sheep and the goats. And all the characters in these parables are attached to the visible church in that they attend, they claim allegiance to Jesus, but some of them are not genuine followers. In the parable of the 10 virgins, half of them are longing for the bridegroom's arrival and half of them are not. In the parable of the sheep and goats, some prove to be Christ's flock and the rest are not. And in the parable of the talents, the one that we're looking at, some proved to be faithful servants and one did not. And Jesus is signaling through this parable that He will be gone for a while. But while we wait, as his servants, as believers, we are to stay alert, stay faithful to him. That's the point of this parable. Now, that doesn't mean we sit idle. That doesn't mean like some were doing in the church of Thessalonica, because Paul had to say, listen, they heard that the Lord was coming any moment and they decided to quit their jobs, and they were just kind of waiting and being busybodies. And he told them in 2 Thessalonians 3, get back to work. Get back to work, be industrious, be on the alert, but don't just sit there idle. Because the way we wait for the Lord shows whether we belong to him, but also the way we work for the Lord shows whether we belong to him. We're never going to earn our way into a relationship with God, but our works and our waiting show whether we belong to Jesus. Now, there is work to do in the advance of Christ's kingdom, and he allows us to be part of it, which is the most exciting thing we get to do. But if you are anything like me, when you go to work, you look at everybody else. You can look at everybody else's gifts and opportunities, and you can get sidelined. You can get jealous of what other people have. That to me has been the road that I've been on. You can look at other privileges and wish that for yourself. But what the Lord is telling all of the servants through this parable, take what I've given you and multiply it. Whatever I've given you, not someone else, you. I want you to take it, use it, multiply it. Because it shows the heart of a true servant of Christ. It demonstrates saving faith. What do you have? Point number one, it's been entrusted to you. It's been entrusted to you. Now, the characters of this parable are easily identified. The man who owns the estate going on a long trip is Christ. He's been away. He's coming back. And in his absence, he places responsibilities upon his servants. Now, the servants, 3 servants, are given varying amounts according to their ability. But the servants are the visible church. It's us. We are the servants. We're considered servants. Now, a talent is a weight. It's a measurement of weight. So it depends on what it's weighing. It could be, tin or silver or gold. It can have varying weights. It really doesn't matter because it's talking about all the things that are given to the servant. I would say time, talent, treasure, even influence. Whatever is given to you, it's a stewardship from the Lord. You are to steward everything given to you. That's what the talent is. And we have varying abilities. Someone gets 1, someone gets 2, someone gets 5. And we can grouse about, hey, wait a minute, I only have 1 or only have 2 and this guy got 5. It doesn't matter. Whatever God gives you, you are to do something with. And all the gifts of the master, all the gifts are from the master. And that's the point. Like, they have been entrusted to you. You are the master's servant. These are his resources that you are to use them with his interests in mind. Time, talent, treasure, influence. You are to use all of those commodities with his interest in mind. That's the Bible's teaching of everything on earth. He owns it all. Now, you think about the ultra-rich. The ultra-rich in this world, they have stewards. They have people who are managing their estates. The Jeff Bezos of the world, they don't have to manage, a checkbook. They don't have to do all of that so that they can be freed up to do whatever they want. But rest assured that they have stewards over the whole thing. What would happen to your business if you went away for 3 months to Europe and gave it over to your foreman? Or what would happen if you left your home in the hands of your teenage kids for 3 months and you went down to Florida during the cold months? Because how they operate in your absence tells what kind of people they are. It's a true test of character. Here's the bottom line. You have been entrusted with the master's resources. What you have is not your own. And you have to understand that first if you're going to be generous with the use of your time, talent, treasure, influence. And people get stuck on this. They're grousing and angry because they got so little from the Lord. That was where I was at. It's like I look around and all the opportunities that everyone else had, or the talents that everybody else had, and I was like upset, and I wasted too much time. Others view their talent, time, and treasure as their own. Here's the other problem. It's not that they wish they had something else. No, it's all theirs. What do you mean stewarding someone's resources? I raised all of this. It's not even on the radar to steward it for the Lord. And they often get offended when they're asked for any contribution. It's like, in regards to wealth, some people equate poverty with godliness. Some people equate riches or prosperity with godliness. But neither are true. Good stewardship of God's wealth that He's given to us demonstrates godliness. It demonstrates true faith. So what you have has been entrusted to you, everything. Point number 2, you are to multiply it. You are to multiply it. I think it's obvious in this parable that the master wants the servants to turn a profit, to do business in a way that brings an increase for the kingdom. You don't just fume and be angry the fact that you only have the one and someone else was given 5. No. Do something with it. Oh, that was something I needed to hear. Stop grousing. Do something with it. What have you been given? What has God given you? Do something with it. Turn a profit. But if you're going to increase it, you first have to manage it well. Like 1 Timothy 4:8 shows that discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. That's what the verse says. Discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. Because if you're going to be a good steward of your time, you're going to need a calendar. You're going to need a calendar. You can't be at the mercy of whatever happens upon you. Because people who live that way have no time to read their Bibles. They have no time to pray. They never have time to serve. They don't have time to carry out a mission of God. You have to be strategic with your time. Your life is not your own. You've been bought with a price. Therefore, serve the Lord. If you're going to multiply your wealth, what are you going to need? If you need it for a calendar, for time, what do you need for money? You need a budget. You need a budget. I mean, that's the only way you can do it. When we had 5 young kids and we were making a small salary, the only way you survive is you have a budget and you live on that budget. And if you don't have one, you can only give to God what's left over. I don't think you want to do that. Give God the leftover change. There's no way to be generous with God's money. One way to change that overnight, give 1/10 of your income first. Then if anyone is going to be without money, it's you. If anyone's going to be left with the leftovers, it's you. You'll start budgeting better in a hurry if that's the case. You will start giving God His due first. Look at verse 16 and 17 and 18. He who received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also the one who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug it in the ground and hid the master's money. Now you just see the eagerness of the first 2. I mean, immediately it says they went to work. Immediately. It was their greatest joy. It was the greatest privilege to be serving their master and increasing the master's wealth. They doubled what they were given. And the guy who had 2 didn't waste time complaining that he only had 2 and wish he had 5. Nope. He got busy, and it was his joy to bring the increase. That's what motivates these 2. It can be seen in all areas of their life. They just it was out of love for the master. Multiplying your time means that you make the most of every opportunity for the kingdom's sake. It doesn't mean that every minute of your life is accounted for. That would be pretty suffocating. Some of you live like that, and that maybe helps for you, but I don't think that's what it means. But you're careful with your hobbies. You're careful with your TV watching, your video game playing. If you can figure out how to be on mission, declaring Jesus, developing Jesus followers through your hobbies, awesome. Do it. Because you're going to be reaching people that, through those avenues. The aim of the servant is to advance the kingdom. Not your comforts, the kingdom. And if you advance the kingdom, God is going to bless you. He's going to bless you with, having time to rest, having time to be comfortable at times. And there's all of that's going to be, but seek ye first what? The kingdom. Multiplying your money means you figure out how to make more. And that's not an evil thing. How to make more. That's not a bad impulse. Making more money is not the problem. It's when you love it too much. Because that's what it says in 1 Timothy 6, 9-10. The love of money is the root of all evil. Not money itself. The love of money. It's when it becomes an all-consuming drug that puts people in a worldly fog. Life then just exists in possessions. It's getting the next thing, the new thing, the shiny thing. They have to have more, and it's all for the wrong reasons. That's why giving is such good medicine. That's why generosity is such good medicine, because we will be pulled by money. It limits what you can spend when you set a budget, when you set what you're going to give to the Lord. You don't wait until you make a lot of money. You should be giving, I'm going to say, at least 10% toward the master's favorite projects right now. Because if you can't give when you're making $60,000, if you ever make $600,000, it's still going to be difficult for you to give. You're like, no, it still will be, because you haven't trained. Because that 10% of 600,000 is what? 60,000. That's a lot of money. And you're not going to want that to pass to something else unless you have trained your heart to give and be a good steward of it. Now, I'm not trying to say that, some of you might push me and say, well, that's an Old Testament, that's tithing, that's Old Testament. We're in the New Testament, it's grace giving. Okay, but I do think it's a good place to start, because if law was required, 10% was required from the law, what would grace require? Right? It's not specified. But those who argue with me about tithe usually give south of 10%. And it's a way to say, hey, back off. I love this parable. I really love this parable, because so many ways, if this is my story regarding giftedness. Like I said, I used to be envious of other people's gifts. When I was attending seminary, I was around extremely gifted people. And sometimes I wanted to quit and just go home. Forget this call, because it's too much. It made me miserable. It was too painful to watch someone speak with ease when I labored at it. The only thing that kept me going was wanting to hear the well done from the master. That's the only thing. And I had to get to the point where I said, if looking like a fool brings a smile on your face, Lord, me looking like a fool, so be it. I want to hear well done, whatever it takes. And what he was saying to me, don't compare yourself with others, John. Just honor me by multiplying the things that I have given to you. Bring an increase for my kingdom through what I have entrusted to you. So, when it comes to finances, when my wife and I had 5 kids, and my first job, we didn't have 5 kids. I was making $30,000, and we gave $3,000 to the church. And before I left Spokane and we had 5 kids, we were making about $45,000. So we gave $4,500 to the church. And we love the Savior and the life that God had given us. Now I make a lot more than that. But over the years, we were challenged, Betsy and I, just every time we got a raise, we moved the percentages up 1. From 10% to 11. 11% to 12. And today, we are over 20%. So 20% goes to the church, and then we're giving beyond to other things. And so I just want, no one's getting rich here. We love what we do. We love this ministry. We love the life that God has given. And we want to advance it as far as we can before the Lord comes back. That's where we are. And I just commend that to you. You don't have to give the way I give, but I want you to start pushing yourself to give in a way that says, I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. I believe in the kingdom come. I believe in the life thereafter. And money does a lot in saying that. As a church, we believe in multiplying everything. We give 10% to outside the church. So a budget at $2.3 million roughly, that means $230,000 is going outside the church. And that only goes up as the budget goes up, which is so exciting. And we're raising pastors to be sent out. Jesse Schmidt went out in 2018, and we raised about $400,000 to help him in Milwaukee. And we sent out Matt Joyner, and we raised a little over $300,000 to send them, and given 200 people south of us about 12 minutes, 15 minutes. And now JT will be placed at Grace Reformed Church about 8 minutes south of us. You see that we are trying to multiply churches. We're not trying to keep all the funds with us. I say this because I want you to get excited. We have an opportunity to just make a huge impact in this city for Jesus' sake, and nothing would make me more happy, and you too, than to see people sing out to the Savior because of the efforts that we are doing to get the word out. That's our vision. I believe God is blessing us with a greater capacity to give in the future because of all of that. There is a reason, and there's always a reason to hold on and play it safe. You just think about your own budget. There's always a reason to hold on and play it safe. And even as a church, trust me, do you think I want to lose some of these great guys coming, leaving our church? No, it's really difficult, but I believe it's the right thing because it honors the Lord, because it says, we trust you, Lord. If you give us more resources, we want to be faithful to move them toward kingdom expanding things. And I believe that God's going to then bless that. And not a name for ourselves, but for the Master. Because what we want to hear is, well done. Well done, Redeemer Church. Soon, point number 3, a day of reckoning will come. A day of reckoning will come. Look at verse 19. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents, and I have made 5 talents more. And his master said, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also said to the one who had 2 talents, he came forward, and the master said, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. And his master said to them, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. The same thing is spoken to the one who created 5 more and the one who created 2 more. They multiplied whatever God had It's like they were so excited when the master came back. So excited. They were thrilled to be the managers of his estate. It's like they said, look what we did. And it wasn't self-congratulatory. It was like they were overflowing with joy. We love doing this for our master. That's what you see in this passage. Better than the accumulation of wealth or a cabinet full of medals and awards is the joy of hearing, well done. Good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your master. They had the joy of multiplying it, so of course they would share in the master's joy. It fuels them. They loved the master. But then in verse 24, he also, who had received 1 talent, came forward and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sowed and gather where I scatter no seed? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him who and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, in a place where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. It takes faith to multiply someone else's wealth, especially when you think it's yours. It takes faith to further God's kingdom rather than your own. And people of faith have had their hearts changed by the grace of God. That's why they want to do it. Because a miracle has to take place in your heart for you to even want to give. Because I don't want any of you to give if you think you're earning your way or you're buying your way to heaven. That's not it at all. The miracle has to take place because without a change of heart, religious people eventually they get irritated. They get burned out and they begin to impugn God's character. Because that's what that servant did. He buried the talent, not wanting to do anything, wanted nothing to do with the master. He said it was out of fear, but if it was out of fear, he could have just put it in the bank. But no, he wanted nothing to do with it. The guy is basically saying to his master, you're hard, you're unjust, I want nothing to do with you. And the master calls him wicked and lazy. He is wicked because he wants to enjoy a life without the master. I don't want responsibilities. I don't want you telling me what to do. Here's your money back. What we do with the privileges given to us show whether we believe in God. Whether we believe there is something more to live for, shows our allegiance to his kingdom and not our own. Just look at what happens in the end. The worthless slave is thrown out into outer darkness, a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth, which is the description of hell. He did not want to serve the master. And you might be saying, oh, great. So if I don't give to this church, I'm going to hell? Is that what you're saying, John? No. In fact, if that's what you think, give it somewhere else or keep it. That's not what we're saying. But everything you have been given, it's been a gift from the Lord. How you utilize what you've been given shows whether you believe that there's someone besides you in this world. Shows whether there is a king that you are accountable to. Shows whether you think that there is a life to come and a kingdom to come. That's why it's so revealing. This man wanted nothing to do with God. And the one who has possessed 10 talents was now given one more. And you're like, why was that? Well, why wouldn't you give it to the one who had joy in multiplying it? Why shouldn't he get more? Because it's the greatest thing to serve his master. out of the abundance, he just wants to be able to do it again. Oh, you're going to give me, now I have 11. Now what can I do with 11? You know, it's a totally different attitude. The master will give more to the one who loved serving him, who rejoiced in the opportunity to multiply what was entrusted to him. Obviously, God would want that. Take whatever God has given you. Multiply it for the kingdom. Multiply it for the kingdom advance as long as we're here and Christ is delayed. Let's move our time, talent, and influence and treasure toward kingdom come. Could you imagine a whole room like this? People sold out for Jesus. I'm not saying you give everything. Again, stewardship. That's what it is, stewardship. You're just trying to figure out, okay, what can I live on and how much can I give? What time, you know, my talents, everything. You figure out, what do I need to do? Because I've got to work. I can't, be at the church all the time, right? That's not what we're asking you to do. But you figure out, with all the commodities given to you, how can you move the kingdom forward? And with a group like this, a lot can be done. It doesn't earn you heaven, but it shows you belong there, experiencing the joy of the master. So here's the questions in closing. How have you done managing God's money? If the day of reckoning were today, what would you say to God? What would he say of you? Well done? Does it bring you joy to manage his estate, or does it bring you irritation? How is Jesus making a profit from your talents? And how is your bank account advancing the kingdom of heaven? Because everything you have is a gift from the Lord. Everything. To be used for his kingdom advance, to further the aims of Jesus: time, talent, treasure, influence. We all have different gifts and opportunities. Yours is not mine, and mine is not yours. But you will find no greater fulfillment than in serving the master with whatever he has given you. No greater joy. No greater joy. And to do it together is even a multiplied joy. See, I even used the word multiply in there. Wow. It is a multiplied joy when we can do it all together. And may God give you the grace. Because it may take some things, to get a calendar and work through a calendar, or get a budget and work through a budget, or even start to serve at the church and care for others and disciple and give what you have for the kingdom advance is going to take some arranging. God will give you the grace to think through all of that. He will. And you will not be earning a place in heaven. You will not be earning a better seat at Redeemer, like front seats or more, No. But you will be blessed. Because generosity and stewardship, God just blesses that. It just does. Even if it's not more money, more joy for sure. Because that's been our life. It's our testimony. And we love to do it. Yep. Why don't you bow your heads?